art at school, so it was either going to be like an art teacher or a writer. Yeah, so, and I thought there'd be more money in journalism, stupid me. So that's what I did. But when I went through uni, I did a Bachelor of Arts in Communications at Bathurst, which was fantastic at the time because there were just so many, well, you know, Amanda Keller was there and Andrew Denton was there and just all these great people that you now know in the media. So it was really dynamic, happening place when I was there. But I majored in theatre arts, so acting or running theatres, and industrial relations. And I loved industrial relations. It was so exciting at the time because Norm Gallagher was still around and, you know, there was a lot happening in industrial relations at the time. And I had to do some work experience in my last year at Bathurst, and I did a couple of months on the Daily Telly, assigned to the IR reporter, who was invariably drunk, who just kept telling me, industrial relations, that's no woman for a job. I mean, no job for a woman, I should say. And you know, by the time I finished there, I believed him. I always imagined I'd be, you know, doing something on a newspaper. And I came out mid-year, and so you could only do cadetships. I was up to going to do like a final year cadetship, and there were just none to be had. And I ended up getting a job on a motorcycle magazine, like a really full-on Harley, really full-on biker magazine. No, I did very well at it. I did, because I had to learn how engines worked. I did have to do that, but because, you know, I was a thin, young, chickie babe, I guess, at the time, and because I knew nothing, you know, Hells Angels and stuff would go into the finest detail about how they'd customise their engines and things like that, so I wrote really good features. And in fact, Ducati magazine tried to scalp me as the editor, and I had to explain to them, I don't even have a driver's license, I can't ride a motorcycle. I know nothing. I can just report. I love the current job. I really love it because I'd worked for so many years before on really big selling magazines, and I'd covered health and beauty for most of my career, and I always felt that a lot of the stories we did were kind of irrelevant in many ways to the readers, because it would be telling a 30 or 40-year-old how to put on their makeup. And even before I was 30, I thought, well, God, they know how to do that. And who am I? And in fact, I think part of it came from being young and thinking, well, who am I to tell them how to put their makeup on? Unless it was some new type of makeup that no one knew how to use. And I just always felt like the beauty stories for women were quite formularised. And I don't mean to insult either publications I've worked for or the readers who love those sorts of stories, but they're quite facile. And so when I heard about the job coming up on the Sunday magazine, which was in 2004, I had an interview with the editor at the time, and she said, what do you want to do with our beauty section? And I said, well, I want to turn it into like a sports section, but for beauty. And she looked at me and she said, what? And I said, well, you know, when you pick up the sports pages, they have the score, the results, but they also have interviews with the coach and with the different players, and they editorialise about strategies and what they're going to do for the season. And I said, that's what I want to do with beauty. So I want to come at it from lots of different directions. So you've got some really deep and interesting stories that go way beyond just buying something in a department store. One of the biggest was a story I did for Look Good, Feel Better campaign, where I was talking about a good friend of mine who'd gone through the same experience, and me wondering how I could help her through breast cancer, putting her in touch with Look Good, Feel Better, and what a difference it made to her. And so I went along. I try and do some of the Look Good, Feel Better classes, and going along and just meeting those women and getting permission to write their stories and stuff. That was really good. But I tell you, from the newspaper side of things, because we work with the Sunday Herald Sun in Victoria and the Sunday Telegraph here in Sydney, the biggest response I ever got from the staff was telling about how I completely mucked up going to a spray tan booth. And how I ended up with orange fingernails and an orange line around my hairline. But you've always got to try everything.
Yeah.
You can't write about a product you haven't tried about, because you can't honestly tell readers if it works, if it doesn't work, how to use it, unless you've done it yourself. I've got a really wonderful junior writer working with me at the moment, Erin Whitty, and I remember her starting, every time she'd write something, I said, have you tried that? Did you try it? And I think she must have got quite fed up with me. Do your research. You just can't not do it. People laugh at me. They really laughed at me when I turned up at Sunday magazine with probably about a dozen big packing boxes full of books. But I have a huge library. If I get downtime in like New York or somewhere, if I'm doing an interview, I head straight to the bookshops. And you really do need some good resources, because you can't get it off the internet. But a lot of people rely too much these days on the internet for research. So you've got to have a good library. You have to test every product you write about. You have to try it. There's just no way around it. Even if it's just like two lines on a product page. Well, that's more important, But certainly with features, if you're, writing, something on mineral makeup or whatever, you have to try them all. You have to look at what's in them. You have to do that. You have to do it. There's no way around it. Not really. Like everybody else, I'm just always got my mind on what the next story is going to be, especially in a really competitive newspaper environment. I want stories that are going to capture not just the beauty readers, but other readers. So I'm always looking out for some new angle on something, and that's the way I tend to think about it. And the encyclopedia thing, when you've been doing it as long as I have, of course you sound like an encyclopedia, hopefully not a boring one. I just love it, because there used to be this old journalism prize that was given by this cosmetic fragrance, pardon me, and toiletry associations. And I never used to win them, because I was writing for magazines where I had to write these kind of very light on, how to have pretty hands type story, that kind of thing. And I remember the last year they had those awards, they gave me like a special excellence award for like nothing particularly, but just having been good. So it's so nice to win awards. And also, I'm getting old. I'll be 47 in August. And, when you're winning awards, it makes you still feel really relevant. And I have to say that's one thing that's really kept me so interested in the industry, because the fact is, as you get older, you get such good contacts. I just have met so many fabulous people in this industry, and I've got to know a lot of them overseas. And, it's just fantastic. Particularly in the perfumery area, I've made such good friends, and it's so nice, you go over there and they say, what do you think of this and what do you think of that? And, sometimes they'll email me and tell me about ideas they're working on and stuff, and that's such an honour, that is, fantastic. I've made very good friends, so it's great.